Y'all been
You guys
promising for the
enslaved
past
them.
3
Hold up,
years.
Truth.
Didn't
You
they teach you
enslaved them
that?
too, and then you also
So if
helped
you was
colonize
enslaving black
Mexicans.
people too,
Truth,
you
you're
will
gonna
be.
listen. Shut up. Stop speaking. You're gonna listen and listen to what people are saying. I muted you because you're over speaking everybody. Truth, you cannot come up here and say that, oh, Native Americans enslaved black people.
Don't
Black
tell me
people
to
did
shut up, bitch.
that. I'm gonna tell you to shut up, and you're gonna stay silent because I told you so. Or you're gonna go to the comments. You're a grown woman. You sound
Somebody's
very old.
triggered.
Have some decorum. Don't act your shoe size.
Not all native, not all indigenous peoples, enslaved people either. It
Right,
was
exactly.
5
That's what I'm trying
civilized
to say. They
tribes.
didn't all do that. And then also, let's not pretend
You
that
will
they
too.
also helped enslave indigenous people. Africans also helped colonize Mexicans. Let's not
Buffalo
pretend.
soldiers.
If you're going to bring in history, bring in the full history.
So, since it's Black History Month, I wanted to do something different this year. Recently, I have been hearing a few TikTokers spreading some misinformation about colonization in the Americas, who influenced African American culture and Black conquistadors. So let's get started. First, we really have to stop saying Native Americans enslaved Black people like that was some universal practice. It wasn't. A small number of native nations adopted chattel slavery after European contact, and having Europeans infiltrating some tribes with marriage, bringing their white supremacist ideologies with them. Most indigenous societies did not practice race-based slavery at all. Bringing this up just serves to keep two marginalized groups at each other's necks. Second, claiming Africans helped colonize Mexico is just wrong. Spain colonized Mexico. Period. Africans who were present in New Spain were enslaved, not planners, not commanders, not beneficiaries. Being forced to labor inside a colonial system does not make you a colonizer. Presence under coercion is not power.
You guys helped with the Spaniards colonize the Mexicans, and then you also there was Buffalo soldiers. Correct. So don't pretend like you were the only ones that were being attacked. You guys
Buffalo
attacked
soldiers
people too, babe.
also went into Mexico, so
That's what I'm saying. Yes, they were called overseers. There was Black conquistadors. Come on.
Now let's deal with this idea of Black conquistadors. There were not hundreds of thousands. There weren't hundreds. There weren't even dozens. There are fewer than 5 named African individuals in conquest records, and every single one of them served under Spanish authority, often while enslaved. They did not command troops. They did not receive land grants. They did not shape colonial policy. Calling them conquistadors rewrites the definition to push a modern argument. Next, the Buffalo Soldiers point. Yes, Buffalo soldiers were used by the U.S. military in westward expansion and on the Mexican border. But they were soldiers under federal command, not independent actors or policymakers. Blaming an oppressed group for the decisions of the state that controlled them is historically dishonest. And no, this idea that Africans were overseers or major enforcers of slavery is another distortion and gross mischaracterization of history. The plantation system was designed, funded, and enforced by European colonial governments and white landowners. Enslaved people placed in coercive intermediary roles did not hold institutional power. That's how systems of oppression work. They force participation while keeping control at the top.
right. So yeah. If you want to talk, like she said, if you want to talk about history, you got to be correct.
I promise you that.
Acknowledge all the history.
It's because indigenous people and natives are the blueprint, and they are just trying to grasp it because they realize, wait, this didn't come from us. This came from them.
No, it's not.
The blueprint of what?
You can't. Hold on. You cannot be the blueprint of a continent that this is not your home. Do you know that the Black community, their Black culture is a mixture of European, indigenous, and African culture? You did not create anything. You were influenced. Congratulations. You're the first people to be influenced.
Now let's address the claim that Black American culture was somehow influenced. Saying Black American culture is just influenced by Europeans or Native Americans misunderstands both history and power. Enslaved Africans did not arrive empty. They brought languages, rhythms, religious systems, social structures, and agricultural knowledge. Europeans didn't create Black culture. They actively tried to destroy African culture through bans, violence, and family separation. If Black culture were European-derived, that suppression would not have been necessary. Using a European language or religion under force does not mean cultural dependence. Enslaved people repurposed imposed systems to preserve African worldviews. That's not European influence, that's cultural survival. And while there were moments of interaction with indigenous communities and people, native cultures were not the foundation of Black American culture. Most enslaved Africans were legally and physically confined within European-controlled plantation systems, not freely integrating with indigenous societies. African American culture is a new cultural formation, rooted primarily in West and Central African traditions, reshaped under enslavement, and developed through resistance and innovation. Blues, spirituals, jazz, Black speech patterns, Black religious expression, these are not European or indigenous hand-me-downs. They are original cultural creations. If we're going to talk about history, we need to talk about systems, power, and agency, not selective blame or self-serving narratives.